All right. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, everybody. We are going to have LA Galaxy goalkeeper coach Kevin Hartman on in about 10, 15 minutes or so. We're going to be talking about micro adjustments and efficiency. This is going to be a fantastic episode, guys. Honestly, I really encourage all of you guys to check this out. Share this link out with all your friends. It's gonna be a really solid one, guys. So we're really excited about this. I think you're really gonna be digging what we're gonna be chatting about here. Right now, I'm just gonna be sharing this link out to everybody in the goalkeeping community. So we will see you guys in a few minutes as I am doing that right now. Right. Again, guys, Kevin Hartman, LA Galaxy goalkeeper coach, in about 10 minutes or so. Share this link out with your friends. It's going to be a fun one. How's everybody doing today? Oh, by the way, guys, if you guys have questions or comments, put them in the chat section. We love to get to them. Anything for Kevin regarding micro adjustments or efficiency, anything for us, whatever floats your boat, honestly. I think this is going to be a solid one. If you guys have questions about when Kevin was involved in the youth game, I think that'll be good as well too. Again, guys, starting in about 7-8 minutes. Guys, share this link out with all your friends in the goalkeeping community. Hey, Yuta, what's up, man? How are you? Good to see you on the chat here. How's everything in New England with Revs 2? Man, my arm is killing me here. Good to see you too, man. It's been a while. That's great to hear, man. That's awesome. Nice, man. I know you and Omar should chat it up about your experiences. You know, your last year with your first year with Revs too, and his first year with the lights this year. You guys probably have a lot of notes that you can share with each other. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, the Yuri one was awesome. So, guys, again, put your questions and comments in the comments section here. It's going to be pretty solid stuff when we start in about, like I said, 5-6 minutes or so. All right. Good times here. All right, there we go. Oh, look at all the people that have joined us already. I love it. Fantastic, guys. We're really looking forward to this. Uh, yeah, man, the Yuri one was pretty awesome. Talking about those close spaces like that, that was pretty sick. Did not mean to play that yet. That is for sure. Whoopsie. That was a mistake. Not starting the show just yet, guys. Sorry about that. By the way, if somebody's private messaging me right now on Facebook, I can't see it right now. I'm on the StreamYard feed. So put it in the chat section instead. That would probably be the easiest way to go about it. My arm is killing me here. Oh. Yeah, Calvin, I see that you're sending me a message right now. So yeah, put it in the chat if you can. That would be best. Thanks, Calvin. I'll get back to you on that privately, man. I really appreciate that. That's really humbling. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So again, guys, we will be starting in a few minutes right now. Just waiting for Kevin and Omar to join us here in the link, and then we will be good to go. Again, guys, like I said, we will be starting momentarily here once everybody hops in. Oh, there's Omar Zeenni. What's up, dude? Can you hear me? Oh. Okay, 1 second. Okay, got it.
Can you?
Yeah, I can hear you now, man.
All right, perfect. Good to see you.
Fantastic.
I see you every day, so.
Yeah, well, it's still good to see you anyway, dude. Right?
I know. I should have led with that too. I should have followed up with that. You're here early, huh? 10 minutes?
Yeah, I always get here about 10 minutes early to share the stream out with people and let them know to put in comments and questions and all that stuff. So, shout out to people like Yuta Nomura, Calvin Fox, all these people watching right now. So
Yuta's the man.
Yuta is the man. Your Wi-Fi seems fine.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen Yuta's videos on if anybody follows him on Facebook, they've seen his clips. One, great clips, but two, some of the striking and finishing on there puts me to shame, man. It's I'm just like, damn, I gotta really.
He can hit a ball, dude, especially that side volley that he can hit. It's ridiculous, dude.
I know. It's pretty dope. I'm sure get as many as you can do on camera, because as we get older, bro, those legs don't move the way we used to. The WD-40, I'm gonna have to start pulling it out there to get my my legs and joints hold up before we get out there. But I feel like we should have an episode just literally goalkeeping coaching problems. Like everybody just share what part of the body is breaking down.
Well, we did an episode with Dan and what was it at Blackburn, when we were talking about like maintaining your body as a goalkeeper coach, and
I remember.
Yeah, and that is something like, man, just yesterday, like I was doing something to my hip, and I'm like, do I have to go get looked at for my hip now and everything like that? So
yeah, it's good. It's crazy. There's certain days where my hamstrings are hurting, so then I'll strike off the ground, and there's certain days where my groin is hurting, so I'll strike from like the volley. And it's just you have to mix it up a little bit. Whatever day feels good, you got to make sure that when it's feeling bad, use the opposite muscle, opposite leg.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, look who's here! Look at this guy.
Hey, Kevin.
Good, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you fine, man. And you got the awesome diagram in the back right there, so we can do a little chalk talk if you want to get up there.
Exactly. How do I? You told me I had to check something in some box. Where's that box?
Oh, just make sure that you're you don't have. So if you go to Cam Mic, and where it says audio, just make sure that echo cancellation is on.
Yes.
So just make sure that's on. So yeah, I think you should be good. All right, guys. Well, we'll get rolling, huh? Here we go. Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, you know him as Las Vegas Lights goalkeeper coach, known as Pro GK Academy, Omar Zeenni. Omar, look how professional your intro is getting now.
Oh man, I thought you said Lice Vegas. I mean, that sounds like a hair product, Head and Shoulders, some crazy stuff. So.
I probably did. I'm getting a little tongue twisted right now, guys, because our guest panelist today joining us, no Saskia Weber, because she's busy getting ready for the UCLA camps. And somebody that knows a little bit about UCLA is El Gato himself, former Bruin, LA Galaxy goalkeeper coach, Kevin Hartman. Kevin, honestly, this is honor, man. I don't want to age you or anything like that, but I grew up watching you, and this is honestly a really big treat for Omar and I, both of us. So,
yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. Obviously, had the opportunity to listen to the podcast on a number of different occasions, and have caught some of your excellent guests. And it's really an honor for me to be here and to be able to talk goalkeeping with you guys. Certainly, my time with the Los Angeles Galaxy as a player is a time that I hold pretty dear, and all the people that I was able to kind of either meet during that time or inspire in some way are a really big part of the community and the pride that I feel about the game to this day.
Well, I mean, I think, one of the really cool things about this is despite the fact that he's gone over to the dark side, Kev, and joined LAFC, Omar is an LA Galaxy Academy alum and a diehard Galaxy supporter. I mean, can you still say that, Omar? Are you allowed to say that when you wear the black and gold?
I'm gonna. You know who's also with us, Kevin, is David Cameron. You know David?
Yeah, I do.
So he's at LAFC, and I saw him today in the office, and I said, "Man, the Galaxy, Bond is looking good this year. Man, I'm so excited to see how he does for the rest of the year for us." And he said, "Excuse me?" And I said, "Oh, I meant, for the other guys." But as I'm tripping up myself in the office sometimes where I get all excited about the Galaxy, and obviously the goalkeeping situation for us in the past has been something that, every once in a while we have somebody good, and some years we don't. So this year I'm just so happy that Bond is in there, and he's been killing it so far.
Yeah, I mean, we've been really fortunate. I mean, I think Jonathan is somebody that has come in and was recruited based on the qualities that we saw, over the last number of months and years as we've kind of prepared to make that change. But certainly he's a player that's, come in and he's really led the back line and, has really come up with big saves and at opportune moments. And I couldn't be happier for him. He's been a real mentor for the goalkeepers that are also a part of our group. And I'd be remiss not to mention Jonathan Klinsman and Justin Von Steeg and Eric Lopez, who, kind of complete that group. So, we're excited about it. We're looking forward to, we're still a long way away. We've got 27 games remaining, but certainly he's gotten off to a great start.
See, this is how you can tell that Kevin's a veteran, how he's been around the game, not just as a player, but as a coach as well, too, doing the administrative work as well, too, because that's the most refined, articulate answer that probably anybody's ever given on the show up front. Honestly, Kev, for a lot of people out there who might not be familiar with the fact that after you were done playing, you kind of got involved in the youth game. Why don't you kind of, walk people through the steps on how that happened?
So, I mean, I obviously played for 17 years, fortunate to have spent 10 years at the Galaxy, 3 years I was in Kansas City, 3 years with FC Dallas. And then I finished up at New York Red Bull, had the opportunity to kind of go in and be a mentor for Ryan Meir and Luis Robles, who was there at the time. And it was just a great opportunity. But as I started to finish things up, I was kind of doing a little bit of goalkeeping work on my own. I owned a goalkeeping company called Shutout Goalkeeping down in Dallas, and was working extremely hard, kind of doing things down there on my own. And the opportunity came up to be the director of goalkeeping down at IMG Academy. And after a conversation with Scott Dean, who's now he's the athletic director down there, but he was the director of the soccer program, talked to him about wanting to expand my role a little bit. And so had the opportunity to be the technical director down there. And it was pretty big ask, in terms of managing, those 10 coaches down there working on curriculum. And they also, just had a pretty storied group of people that had been down there. So it was great experience. I felt like it was boot camp for everything that I really wanted to accomplish later in my career within the soccer world. We had quarterly business meetings, so I got introduced to the business of the sport. Came back in 2017, launched our Girls Academy, and then probably a year after that, started overseeing both the boys and the girls academy from an operations perspective. And so I really got a glimpse into a lot of different things, but the work I did on the goalkeeping side of things down at IMG Academy, I think was really beneficial in terms of the work that I'm doing now. And I'm really proud of the goalkeepers that we actually produced. And I think Brooks Thompson's at Sporting Kansas City. He's a goalkeeper we had down there. And then Luca Lewis is at New York Red Bull too. So we were able to put together a couple professional players into the game already. So that was great.
I mean, that's so awesome, man. And it's great that you're talking about the fact about, the other side of it as well, too, because it's something that Omar and we've discussed quite a bit on the show and just, kind of off the show as well, too, is, Omar, how important it is for goalkeeper coaches to see the other sides, whether it's the admin side, whether it's, being a program director, whether it's being an outfield coach. It's just going to give you so much more perspective.
Yeah. No, and I kind of wanted to follow up to ask Kevin a question on that as well, because obviously in your era, the game has changed, not drastically, but enough where, things are being asked of goalkeepers that, may have not been asked back in the day. So for you kind of getting into the coaching and then, being a teacher per se, now that you're with the first team guys, do you feel like your perspective on goalkeeping has gradually drastically changed, or have you always kind of understood where the game was going and kind of refined your tools as you kind of went along in each place that you stopped at?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you learn lessons and you have shortcuts that you take away, and you try to become as effective as you possibly can as a professional. I'm a big believer that the game hasn't changed as much as people tend to think it has over the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, I think that there's some some things tactically, like within the game, but goalkeeping in and of itself hasn't changed as much as people kind of act like it has. People talk about the modern goalkeeper and how that we have to deal with the pass back, and that's been something that's been being dealt with since 1993 or whatever the case may be, right? So every goalkeeper that's playing and is under probably 30 years of age has always had to deal with being a field player first, and whether or not coaches have evolved in that way and have gotten them the touches that they need to get them so that they're comfortable with the ball at the feet, that's a totally different conversation. And so a lot of the conversation I was hoping to have today is about personal accountability for your game, but then also making sure that you're supported, but it's not just a safe space. So I feel like there's too many goalkeepers that are really just kind of content in that safe space over going through the technical training and not necessarily pushing themselves with comfortability in rondos or at the back of the defense, and learning how to spot where numbers might be up on the field and playing through that effectively.
Yeah, and I love what you just said right there, Kevin, in regards to pushing themselves and putting themselves in uncomfortable situations. I'll take myself, as somebody who kind of was a victim of that growing up. If I felt uncomfortable in an area of the field or doing a certain action, I would try to manipulate the game so I didn't have to do those actions. But once I got to the higher levels, it really, for lack of a better term, exposed me. I know when I tried to dabble in trying to play in the USL after college, and I learned, oh boy, everybody's also an athlete. So this is something I should have taken into consideration too. My footwork really, my struggled, just because I'd never been put in those scenarios before. But a lot of that was on me, and I think a lot of it, honestly, Kevin, and I don't know how you feel about this, is also on the coaches, because just they weren't being asked to develop activities for these scenarios. Players were being asked to do it, but they weren't developing these activities in training to prepare them for it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I feel so fortunate about. I mean, our goalkeepers are included fairly early within our training sessions. I mean, we go into activations. We're working on, playing zonal games almost immediately. So the goalkeepers start to understand that, how important it is to put the ball on the player's upfield foot if they're trying to move them into the next zone, or playing it to their back foot if they're expecting the ball to get bounced to them. We talk a lot about manipulating defenders, right? And so we're not just trying to subsist within the game. We're trying to become an important dynamic within it, So when we play out of the back, you'll notice that Jonathan Bond bounces the ball a lot, and we're trying to make defenders make decisions in terms of whether they're going to press Jonathan. If they press Jonathan, what's our outlet? Are we playing into their trap, or are we playing through their trap? And are we getting to a spot on the field where we're maybe numbers up? And so those are really things that we're really trying to push the level a little bit within our training sessions, in terms of cognitively how we're perceiving things, and less in terms of like if at the professional level, if we're having problems hitting the ball right-footed and left-footed, it's probably a little bit late for that. We're trying to get our goalkeepers to a point where technically they're fairly established by the time they're 14 or 15 years of age. And then we can start talking to them about the chess match that is the tactical side of the sport as they're in that 15 to 18 year range.
Now, careful there, Omar. You might have to sign an NDA from Kevin right there about that bond information. I don't want you giving that to Bradley to try to get brownie points over at LAFC like that.
It's a public show. I'm sure if he listens to it, he probably would get the information there.
Oh
No,
yeah,
but
I'm sure Bob Bradley's listening to this right now.
No, but Kevin, I think you made such a really good point about that as well. Is that, I mean, you see a lot of kids in the summertime as well. It's like, yeah, you want to get better with your left foot and right foot, but I think, you know, in terms of the IQ of certain goalkeepers, you know, being able to you know, feint one way, and then that offsets the entire defense going one side, and now you play it short, and you realize the overcompensation of them coming back across. You receive it, and now you have the outlet pass the opposite way. Now you're talking about just cognitively and seeing those patterns over and over and over. And to your point, Mike, you know, we expect sometimes the goalkeepers to know how to do that, just because kind of maybe, you know, as a coach, we've seen it so many times. But it's coming down to the first team coach as well, who we need to communicate with and say, look, we need to have this in the sessions as often as possible if we're going to be asking it of them, you know, come Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
We want to make
Kevin,
sure.
interrupt me all you want, man. You're Kevin Hartman. You can interrupt me anytime you want, and interrupt Omar about 30 seconds into his thing. Otherwise, we'll go for 5 minutes. So yeah, whenever you want, man.
we talk a lot about like you know, a pianist who does the scales, right? And there's a real comfortability with that, and they do those scales, and then they move on to the more complicated things, you know. And so you know, trapping the ball left foot, playing right foot across your body, trapping it right foot, playing left foot across your body, and just trying to figure out, you know, different instinctual things that happen within the game, and repeating those so that there's a massive level of comfortability with it. You talk about whether the player has time, are they under pressure? Is it a short pass, a medium pass, long pass? So what we're trying to do is make sure that these things really become second nature for them, and take as much of the problem solving that occurs during the game, and, you know, have confronted that kind of ahead of time. So, you know, what's the scenario? What's your check down list of things and the ways that you're really going to kind of solve that, so that on the field thinking really can become more and more dynamic.
Yeah. Now, we might as well just get into this topic, because I think this is a monster, to be honest with you. And Kevin, fantastic topic, by the way. I mean, really, really solid topic. You know, even Omar is going to be taking notes on this. You know, Mr. I don't know if you know this, Kevin, but well, you're a listener of the show, so you probably know that during quarantine, he told a story about when he first started coaching college. About his.
God.
I don't want to put you on the spot there with Kevin. Don't worry about that, Omar. I won't. He said
We'll circle back. We'll circle back.
We'll circle back to that story. But guys, today's topic is going to be efficiency and making micro adjustments, especially about saving time in small spaces and all of that. Kevin, for maybe some parents out there who might not be familiar with what we're referring to when it comes to efficiency from a goalkeeping standpoint, what do you mean by that?
So for me, you know, I think you probably have to describe what ends up being effective, right? So effective is probably keeping the ball out of the goal. It's probably competing that pass. But everything around the game is based around time. And so how can you use the limited amount of time that you have most effectively? And so, you know, for example, if I kick a ball towards your knees, like there's a lot of people that are going to teach you how to scoop the ball. And if I kick the ball at your face, they're going to teach you how to go into an overhand catch. Probably don't spend as much time on what your set position looks like. And it's probably one of the most important things within the game. And you'll probably have a number of different set positions if the ball's at midfield or if the ball's 7 or 8 yards away from you. But I know that one of the things that I struggled with as a young player was my hand position. If somebody shot at my face, I'd be fine. I'd be able to kind of get my hands up, and I'd be able to go into that overhand catch pretty easily. But it took me a while to get my hands into a position where I was able to scoop easily. And that's probably because I had the back of my hands were probably facing the shooter, right? And, you know, I probably didn't get the right lesson until I was almost 30 years of age, that if I, you know, had my hands like almost in a clapping position, kind of centrally located, that it's almost instinctual that I protect my face this way, and then I protect the lower region of my body by by kind of scooping in an underhand position. So, you know, that to me would be a valuable way to use your time in terms of what's your hand positioning and how do you make it so that you're instinctually catching the ball in a manner that works over and over again. You know, so that would be an example of how one way that I would save time and a lesson that I would share with young goalkeepers so that, you know, they can be more effective in their job.
I love the way you broke that down right there, because I think that's one of the biggest issues, Omar, a lot of times when we're working with the youth players, to kind of bring it back to the youth tilt right there, is you need to put it in a way, in a context. And I love time management. That's a great way to put it, because if you just tell a young goalkeeper, all right, well, put your hands here like this, and they go, but I'm catching the ball when I'm going out here. And then you increase the pace and they're hurting it. And you go, it's because the speed of play now has increased, and therefore your movement isn't as efficient because you're forcing out at the ball. Omar, is that something that you've ever dealt with, with your long career of working with 8-year-olds, 6 months? I think you did
No,
that.
but I think you made a really good point there, Mike, in the sense of, I think most young coaches, we come in with a, big ego. We want to influence the technical aspect of things. And sometimes we impede the learning process by trying to influence and speak the technique into existence, when really a lot of times you need to let them fail. You need to let them experience it. Like you said, Mike, hey, yeah, it's working one way, but if I change the location of the shot, or if I take my touch negatively or towards you or laterally, things are going to have to change based on, the distance between you and I. So I think for any young coaches or any parents out there, if you're going to put your kids through the session, I would say run them through it, let them fail over and over and over. And then from there, they'll start to solve it themselves, versus us trying to say, you have to have your hands here, put your hands here. And then if the shot doesn't go there, then it's like, well, eventually it will. I think it's just letting them try out different types of techniques, and eventually they try to figure it out. And I think, Mike, you talked about it earlier, manipulation. For me, because I was a little bit slower, I knew getting to the ground would take a little bit longer. So I set more neutral, with the idea that if I needed to get down, my hands would be able to shoot. I was manipulating it to make the game easier on myself, but luckily my coaches didn't say, hey, don't do that. It was more so, if it's working for you, we're going to give you the liberty to do it, but it's working until it's not. So they gave me the ability to actually have the window to try new things, which I feel a lot of young coaches sometimes don't, because they get in their own way.
And that's bringing up a really good point there, Kevin. And because I wanted to talk to you about this, because I think when we talk about efficiency and we're talking about micro adjustments, I think this is one of the most difficult things for young goalkeepers to comprehend. Micro adjustment, not a grandiose overcorrection of what you're doing, but a slight adjustment. Is there any sort of language that you've used kind of in the past that has helped you to kind of get that point across?
I mean, I offer shortcuts, right? I think that when you send over some of the things we'd go over in micro adjustments, I think I was like, oh man, this is like a science project. I better make sure I get a good night's sleep so that I'm ready for this thing tomorrow. But the reality is some of these are just shortcuts, and they're shortcuts, I think that are hard earned. And I think this is one of the things that you'll see, like at some of the higher levels, that for example, when I went to Red Bull at New York, I was really just relaying these experiences that I'd had, and really telling people how I found it the easiest to solve. And there's real value there. I mean, that's me moving my family 3 different times across the nation, and these are hard earned lessons. And so you always are expecting the younger players to maybe respect it, for what it is. And I do think that some of the shortcuts, whether it's a crossover and a shuffle, and like, what are these like things within the game that you can automate? Because there's only a certain number of scenarios within the game, and I always talk about how we train scenarios, and how we hope that we have a solution for all of these things before we see it. And in essence, our communication isn't the solving of the problem. It's really reinforcing things that the entire group already knows, right? And so I really think that shortcut is another way that I'd kind of refer to the micro adjustments that you're talking about. Other ways that we can be efficient, whether it's on the field or whether it's off the field, and things that we can do ahead of time to give ourselves the best chance at success.
I love the fact that you just brought. Go ahead, Omar. What were you about to say?
No. To Kevin's point, I think there's so many micro adjustments in every aspect of the game, whether it's crossing, shot stopping, 1v1s. Even for example, this past week, I was telling one of the goalkeepers that I'm training or at LAFC. Sometimes when the ball goes wide, he shifts all the way to the near post, and I was like, if you shift all the way to the near post and there's runners far post, you have so much more to travel. So if you have a defender who's already kind of slightly covering the near post, maybe take a little bit of a liberty because you might have to, sprint forward and cover the near post if they do strike it. But most likely they're looking to serve it. So drop off just a micro adjustment. Just drop off 2 or 3 yards. So now your hips are a little bit more open, and now you have a direct line to the near post, center of the goal, or if you need to go to the far post, it's just a miniature cross step to get to that ball. But going to that near post is only valid, for me at least, I feel, if that guy takes his touch more inward and then, becomes more of a direct threat, or there's only one runner in the box and that runner is making the run near post and you have to defend that zone. But again, it's just there's so many different aspects of the game where those little micro mini adjustments can really make the difference or make you feel a little bit more comfortable in your movements.
And we're gonna kind of bring this up in a little bit or whatever. But Kevin, I think that Jonathan Bond, makes some really fantastic micro adjustments. And just watching some film of him, recently in the past few matches and everything like that. And like when you slow down the movements, you recognize the fact that he might be slightly out of position and he'll be able to quickly realign himself with the flight of the ball. Just like that, by just a slight shift of the body, and I think a lot of goalkeepers, they panic and then they overcompensate and then they have to readjust.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of learning all the different idiosyncrasies of Bondi's game, but he does some things he's a tall goalkeeper. He's got to be 6'4", and he deals extremely effectively with some stuff in low spaces and one-on-one situations where the ball is only 4 to 5 yards away. And I'm always kind of baffled by how he does it, and I think I continue to try to have takeaways within that. But another adjustment that we've kind of made for him is we're asking him to come a little bit higher out and play with the group in front of him. And I just thought it was interesting. He has the ball in his hand, and just by taking 2 steps back and putting the ball on the ground, the player that was defending one of the defenders all of a sudden steps, and then he has an option. So it's literally just the difference between having the ball in his hand versus putting the ball on the ground with a comfortable amount of space, so that it makes the defender make a decision, and then based off that kind of prompts play to begin. So I just I think that he does a lot of things that I look at as a goalkeeper that has seen a lot of games. And the one thing about Jonathan that we noted when we were going to bring him over is there was a willingness. So I mean, when he was at West Brom to go to a championship level team and to get matches and to do all these things, because he's really a master of the craft. And he also, he sees a big upside for himself, and he's vested in his own development. And, there was no ego there. I think there's a lot of people that play for a Premiership side that, wouldn't do that. I actually listened to a Peter Schmeichel a podcast the other day where he was talking, I think, of the greatest game or whatever, not to pitch another podcast on your guys' podcast, but Peter Schmeichel was talking about Kasper Schmeichel and how Kasper was willing to go and play in these different environments, and obviously it's paid off wholeheartedly when he's doing as well as he has been at Leicester.
I think Peter Schmeichel's somebody that you can pitch their podcast on here, and we're not going to have any issues with that whatsoever. Omar, are you going to go after Kasper? Maybe not Peter, but Kasper for that. So.
No, Peter. I mean, 2 legends for me, so I would welcome them to come on the show, or if they want to have us on the show, it'd be great too.
Yeah, we are more than happy to for free pitch anything that has to do with the Schmeichel family legacy, as long as they don't yell for 2 hours. We just don't want them yelling for 2 hours on the podcast. He's simmered down a little bit since he's gotten older. It's funny about that you said that about the tactical adjustment, Kevin, because I think that is something that also needs to be addressed here. I think a lot of times in the youth game, especially, we focus on physical adjustments and we don't focus on tactical adjustments enough. And I think, look, we've had this conversation on the show with a lot of different goalkeeper coaches around the world. I think in the foundational stages, the technical development is very important, but we really do need to teach goalkeepers how to make tactical adjustments in the game and not micromanage them.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the way that we play it within the first team, there's obviously some idiosyncrasies between the way that they play in the second team, but we're always looking for ways that we can get experience for our goalkeepers. And so, they play between those two environments. And so it's important that they're able to kind of, work within both systems, but also, I vividly remember a match that we played recently where, the ball bounced out to maybe an outside back, and it came back to the goalkeeper, and the pressure came from a direction that we hadn't anticipated. And it was funny because it was in like the third or the fourth minute, and the problem was we never solved it. We never got to the other side of it. We never realized that if the pressure's coming from there, that maybe there's an opportunity for us somewhere else on the field. And so that was one of the conversations we have after the game. It wasn't necessarily about the goal that was scored or this. It was that we played 90 minutes. They showed you something in the fourth minute, and we never were able to solve it. And so I think that that's how things get more dynamic, maybe at the top level. I'm always blown away that, we have more and more expectations of our keepers. And I just remember how hard I worked when things were simpler, or whatever the case may be. Like, where do you find all this time to become as good with your feet as Ederson is, but still be the goalkeeper that Peter Schmeichel was? And so I think that that's one of the things when we talk about like efficiencies, it's like, where do you get the support? What resources are you using? And I think that we're really fortunate with YouTube and with podcasts such as yours that, these conversations are happening. If you really want to learn how a 4-4-2 works and what player roles and responsibilities are, that information's out there. I just remember when back in the old days when I had a VCR and I'd set that thing so that I could get team by team previews of like the '86 World Cup on my VCR. Like, I'd get 30 minutes of like an Italian public TV station, and I would tape that and I would go watch it, and I'd watch it 20 times, 30 times, and just so that I could see the game on TV here in the US. And so there's so many assets like right at the hands and fingers of these young players that, you can learn how to play a Dutch 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 or whatever the case may be. And with that information, it empowers you as a leader. I mean, there's nothing worse than asking your goalkeeper to communicate with his team when he has no idea what the heck he's doing. And it just becomes cheerleading. And so, but it's also tough to be a leader if you don't have the correct information. So it's important that the players learn what their coach is looking for, and to be engaged and focused. And that's, I mean, I read somewhere that they talk about like how the most touches that a player has on the field is with their feet. And all I can think about was, yeah, but that's still only 5% of the game. The rest of the time they're focusing and they're engaged and they're solving problems and reading scenarios. And so how much time are we spending on that? Because that's where 85-90% of the game is just, can you stay focused for 90 minutes? And
I love the fact
that's difficult.
Sorry about that, but I love the fact that you just brought that up in regards to that mental aspect, because I think the efficiency when it comes to from a tactical standpoint, Omar, and I know we've talked about this, comes from all that off the ball movement, comes from being engaged in the game, comes from really understanding what scenarios are developing, because that's the only way that you're going to be efficient in your actions, right?
For sure. Yeah. And I think, again, from my own experience in the last like 3 weeks, we had a young goalkeeper who is, he's 20 years old, played at UVA for a year. Obviously COVID situation happened, so he hasn't had as many games. But in terms of like the concepts, he has a full grasp of that, completely understands how to play with both feet out of the back, knows how to play short, knows how to read patterns. But in terms of like the context of what's happening in the game, he was not able to, understand context within the concept. And there were times I had to show him on 2 or 3 occasions where about 2 minutes of just chaos on multiple occasions throughout the game where, yes, he plays it short, and then we lose it. And then, again, the ball goes out of bounds, goes on for another goal kick. He does the exact same thing again, even though San Diego dropped off. We need to have a breather. So he knows the concept of how to play short and do all that stuff. But the game management, because he hasn't had a lot of minutes, he doesn't understand the context of how to use those things and maybe give us a breather and push it up the field. So the efficiency, in my opinion, those micro adjustments come in a lot different forms than just the technical aspect, more, again, the tactical and understanding when to play short, when to play long, and having that cognitive understanding of, hey, is my personnel, are these guys, do they want the ball? Is that a conversation that I have off the field with these guys? There's so many different factors that I think, and variables I think, happen prior to the game that can make your game a lot easier.
No, Omar, it's funny that you talked a little bit about like the players in front of you, and as you kind of grow within the game, and as you move along, you start to realize just how important that group is, and how I think Siggy Schmidt at some point told me that I'm kind of like the puppeteer back there, and all these guys, if I can move them and I can put them in good spots, like my workload goes down significantly. And so you just talk about being able to understand more about personalities and about managing people. And that comes with time. And sometimes it's tough to lead unless you're playing extremely well. But the reality is that when you're playing, whether it's flying changes or whatever, and you're starting to, develop some relationship with the defenders in front of you in these, 3v2 and 4v3 scenarios, they start to understand like where you want the play to be taken. And then you reinforce that with, an applause of something that they've done. And those are the relationships that really, kind of make or break a team. And
Sure.
being able to, I think, get beyond, some of the things that are a little bit more individualistic.
And one of those things, Kevin, that you brought up right there, as Omar was talking about, obviously he working with the second team there, at LAFC with the Lights, is that is difficult. That is difficult when you have, let's say guys who go down to LAG2 and they haven't been there all week with those guys, and they're thrown into that environment and everything like that. To have that sense of, okay, where does this player want that ball? What's the right space for that player to move based on their strengths, all of that. So it's like, is there any advice you give to a goalkeeper that kind of get thrown into that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to, and it's similar. I think at some point we'll talk a little bit about conceding a goal, or if there's a mistake or something goes wrong. And for me, these are all important moments. They're all big moments, but nonetheless, they're moments. And we've talked a lot about time, and these need to kind of be footnotes, and you really just need to be able to get on to the next thing, right? And so, for example, like with Jonathan Klinsmann, Justin Vom Steeg, Eric Lopez, these guys need games. And so it's not always the most fashionable thing to go down and play with G2 and fly all the way to Charleston when everybody else on the first team has days off. But it's crucial. We need to be able to make fair decisions, and the only way that we can make those decisions is by giving people the experiences that they need. And so we feel like Jonathan is somebody that's going to, get first team minutes this year at some point. Games are going to kind of stack on top of each other in the second half of the year, and the last thing we want to do is take Jonathan Klinsmann and put him into a Galaxy 2 game when they play a little bit of a different setup, and not have given him the opportunity to be successful. So sometimes within these scenarios, like pride kind of takes a back seat to that. Maybe you don't get home as early. Maybe instead of being able to be the first one out of there, you have to go into the gym and you have to work on this, or maybe our nutrition becomes of utmost important. You talk about efficiencies, and if you're able to plan your food and you're able to get the right hydration and you're able to use that hour and a half window for your nutrition, you will be a better athlete. You will be a better personality to work with if you're getting the right amount of sleep at night. And so all of these things become who you are as a goalkeeper. And so I think it would be a huge oversight to not consider each part of your day and figure out how you can do the best with that time so that you can be as prepared as possible to have success on the field.
You're just making me think about how inefficient I am with my day. I just spent the last hour watching. I'm not joking you. Last night I stayed up and watched The Avengers to prepare to watch Loki today because I needed to make sure that I was really on the same page after the Battle of New York. Wow, I just went real nerd deep cut right there. No, I was preparing for this podcast, guys. That's what I was doing. No, but in reality, you're right, and you just brought up something that I wasn't even thinking about when it comes to efficiency. Is that the time management of your day is going to make you more efficient at your training? Omar, I know you yourself personally can attest to this when you were a younger coach or a player trying to pursue a pro career. How difficult it was for you when your time was all over the place.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even when you talk about your coaching, I mean, we scale it back even more. If your sessions aren't planned out, in my opinion, throughout the day or even before, the session, obviously, once you get out there, you're not going to be able as a coach to make your micro adjustments because you don't have the ability to improvise because you don't have a foundational piece to your session. For me, I've found whenever I have been most organized or I have everything ready to go, then I have time to, add some more time for communication with the goalkeepers, some cognitive, tests throughout the sessions, things like that. But I think, when I'm feeling rushed or I didn't get my proper sleep or my nutrition was off, I was just all over the place and I didn't have the opportunity to have that bandwidth or that, threshold capability in my head to allow to be able to make those miniature adjustments or be more efficient with my style of play.
And if I can build off of that, Omar, I mean, I just think, you talk about the work and how you put so much time into the session and the session planning. And if the head coach needs a goalkeeper early, like what's the adjustment? You come up with that plan B, plan C. But then it's like, what was the response to that from the players? Was there soreness? I mean, and then you take that and you adjust off of that. I mean, what's the data that we're getting, from the GPS units? And then from that, like you have to use that data in a way so that the next day gets better. And so it's a constant evolution when you're a coach to try to figure out how to get the most out of these players. But as a player, they need to start kind of looking at the game in small little bites like that so that they can really move forward. Because I do feel like there's sometimes from a goalkeeping perspective, if it's just a lot of training, there's a lot of monotony to it, and if you break it up into catching and then catching in while diving, if that still exists, I don't know if you can still catch the ball while you dive. That's one of the things that's gone the way of the dodo. So I think it must be the new ball that I hear so much about.
It's unfortunate that Saskia's not here because she'd be on the same page with you right there, Kevin, with her UCLA keepers. She just and they're always like, well, they're like, you don't understand. They're like, back when you played in '99, like the balls were made differently. She's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's the same material still. But anyway,
we talked a lot about the efficiencies of holding the ball. It just we used to always make fun of the guys that would deflect the ball and then get the second save and then get the third save. And the reality is I vividly remember the conversation that Bruce Arena had with me at national team camp about where I was putting my rebounds. And I just hadn't thought of it. I spent so much time like getting into the right angle, making the right save, and pushing the ball wide was good enough, and just getting the ball out of bounds and watching Tim Howard and watching these guys like where they were putting the ball and realizing, I needed to dedicate a little bit more time within each save so that I was finishing them off just a little bit better, and so I vividly do remember that conversation as well, and how that was really a heads up in terms of the things that I need to dedicate a little bit more time to.
Well, let's Kevin, if you're cool with this, I got some tape of Bond. If you're down to break some of this stuff down, it's all good stuff. Like we're not going to put like some bad stuff of Bond up here right now. But I got some tape that I would love to kind of get your insight because obviously you're there and you're receiving the information firsthand here. So I'm going to play this. Nope, that is invite somebody. That is not the right thing I wanted to do here. Okay, video file, and all right.
I'm already reading ahead on your breakdown here. Oh,
okay, you are. Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, this first play right here is essentially, I think what it is. I think it's Cade Cowell kind of gets stuck. I think it's like like basically he's triple teamed right here or double teamed right here. He lays the ball off up top, and it's a one-time hit in between two players right there for Bond. And as you can kind of see, as the ball kind of comes in, it's just a slight movement of the body to steer this ball away from the near post up and over. And I think that's a conscious decision, in my opinion, based on the shape of his body right there. Kev, I don't know if you want to add on anything to that.
No, I mean, I think you're a little bit disappointed that the guy gets away from the two defenders as easily as he does. We look to defend centrally when there's not really a player there. So then you talk about efficiencies within it, like obviously the danger area comes to the top of the box, and there's some emergency defending that goes on. But I just think one of the things for me is like it's just a real comfortability from Bond there. You can see his nose is in a good position in front of his toes, and his hand shape is nice and neutral, so that he has just as much work to do down as he does up. The distance from the ball. I mean, the shot about 20 yards away, he's able to kind of go with one hand. There's another efficiency thing. Like, do you really need to slow your body down when you're diving and bring two hands over on a shot you're not going to catch? Or is the one hand getting there quickly more imperative? And those are things that you learn over time and the adjustments. But here it's pretty clear to me that he goes with one hand. He's able to kind of put it somewhere and putting it out and beyond the end line gives him the opportunity to get his team back. Everybody resets, is organized, and there's a real opportunity to kind of deal with what comes next.
Yeah.
Kevin,
Omar, go ahead.
Yeah, no, something that I noticed too, and I did it as a player, and as a coach, I try to teach it. It's more so 1 foot on, 1 foot off, just because I think a lot of times our triggers prior to a shot, the prep set, some people like to jump and they, can root their feet in the ground. But I think here, prior to the shot, if I'm seeing it right, as the shot's being hit, he's closing down the space, so obviously minimizing that space, but chopping his feet up one on, one off. So I feel like, in my opinion, the weight distribution is a lot easier for him to, in that split second, push 1 foot back down and extend and shoot up. So have you noticed that in training sessions with him, like light feet or not, jumping and rooting himself into the ground?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always amazed that, he's able to kind of, I guess I should preface this. The one thing that he does that I still am not real sure how he does it as effectively as he does is some of the kick saves within like 4 to 5 yards, because he does have a tendency to get really on top of the front of his feet, and I just think, like, if you're on the balls of your feet, then it's really difficult to lift them up and take them out of the ground. And so, yeah, he does a good job of being patient with the shots. And I think that that's one of the things that's really important is within goalkeeping, there's a real tendency to have a rhythm to it. And you'll see goalkeepers, they'll raise their head and then they'll get in the set position, then they'll raise their head, and they'll just really go through the motions and really have some inefficient habits. But he's able to kind of stay in a ready position and crouch and prepared for a longer period of time. And that's that same focus that we kind of talk about. Like, he's ready for a shot when it goes wide. He's ready for the cross when it goes wide. As it gets cut back, he's still in that position. Like, you don't see him lift up. He's always in that position where he has the right tension in his body so that he's prepared to go in the direction that he wants to go.
Mike, I think that again, Kevin, I think that right there, the point that you just made is something that I've tried to find creative ways to construct it so that these people can understand, young kids can understand the perspective that we're trying to understand here. Is when there's a play that's developing, for like 10, 15 seconds, you got to be in that play. The legs are going to burn. You got to make sure the head stays level, the eyes stay level, making sure you don't keep readjusting your hips, going too low, going too high. I can talk about just kind of offsetting your body weight and body position. And I think the way you just said it right there, if you watch that entire play from when that ball gets played to Kid Cow and then he cuts it back, like you said, he's in that play and he is letting his legs burn and not letting himself rise above that eye level. And by doing that, like you said, you're in the best position possible to react to anything in that moment. And then after that 10 seconds or 15 seconds, however long the play is, then you can exhale, you can relax for a little bit. The legs can kind of, recover. and then you're back in it. But I think a lot of times, instead of it being a 10, 15 second really zoned in, some people try to go, 5, 10 seconds, and then the last 5 seconds, they try to, progressively get themselves in. And by that point, in my opinion, it's gonna be really, really hard to turn your body back on.
It's just, it always seems to me like we do shooting exercises and the goalkeepers will like, I'll stay in for 8. And then the ball goes wide and they haven't left the 6, or maybe the play starts up around midfield and they start at they're 6 and they're where the play eventually is and where they need to be. And, it's important that, for me, that goalkeepers are able to, put themselves into a scenario and imagine a scenario that's very lifelike, and then go through that process so that they can make the save as it's going to happen in the game. So if there's some type of a passing sequence that starts around midfield, then our goalkeepers should probably be 12 to 16 yards off their line, right? And then they're working their way back as the ball moves through, and then they're beginning to develop some of that leg strength that they're going to need, because it's not an upright position. There's a lot of movement around goalkeeping. And so, but especially at the youth levels, there's a real tendency to get into some bad habits where they're not staying connected. They're not dropping off, and they're just looking to get into an easy angle and make a save and then go to the next one. And they get 8 of them. So who cares if they miss this one? They still got 7 more. And so the importance of every shot kind of goes away a little bit.
So, and that's not the game, in my opinion. And I know it's something that Saskia has been very big on, in her fact, the fact that a lot of these, passing patterns into layoff to shoots at the youth level aren't realistic, because there's too much time on the ball, or there's too little time on the ball. It's not the actual ebb and flow. And, I'd rather have personally, 3, 4 good scenarios, another goalkeeper goes in, and then some guy standing in there for 8, 9, 10, and then, has 3 maybe that are quality, and then the rest of the time was a waste. I don't want to say a waste, but not realistic, not game realistic.
Wow. I just think the one thing that you really have to think about is, at this level, are we working on training better? Or are we working on winning games? And so I think, for us, we talked a lot about like the work that we're doing, the response that we get, and what the recovery looks like. And then we take that data and we try to figure out what's going to be next. And so there's some days we're pushing hard, some days we're not pushing as hard. I mean, one of the things we really have kind of started to do is look at, a race car driver is not getting his car and drive every day. For our goalkeepers, we're not, we're not pushing it pedal to the metal every day. We're trying to figure out smarter ways to work so that, come Saturday, we're as prepared as we possibly can, but each one of those repetitions that we're doing has to be at a level that's similar to what we're going to be seeing on game day.
Yeah. I want to bring this up right now, because you were just talking about recovery, and I want to bring up the second ball recovery and efficiency in a second ball recovery. And you're probably going to know the play I'm talking about right here. I think this is against San Jose. I think it was Rios to, might have been
I remember.
Right. Yeah. Omar remembers because he was watching this game, despite the fact that he's working at LAFC. But I think, I think it's the shot here, and there's the recovery by Bond while he's still on the ground on Salinas right there. Which again was just a slight adjustment. You don't have time to get up, but just a slight shift of your body right there. I'm going to play it all the way through so that everybody can kind of see it. Here, shots hit, boom, recovery, shape, and then great save right there. Kevin, why don't you walk us through that?
Why don't you play it for me one more time so I can
Okay.
I can
You're
figure
like,
out all the different comments. I always can talk goalkeeping here. So
all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you talk to Jonathan, he probably would have liked to have done something different with the ball that kind of skips through there. It looks like it comes through a number of different people, but he's able to kind of get 2 hands to it. I'm not sure if he went to go to handle it or if he felt like he had teammates maybe that were in a space that could help him out there, but he loses it. Instinctually looks to get back to his feet, realizes he's not really going to be able to get all the way up. Probably realizes that a majority of the space for the shooter and the body shape of the shooter, right? So you talk about just seeing shots on a daily basis and being able to understand the mechanics of the shooter. He's coming from the left side. He's a big guy, so the obvious thing becomes kind of putting it into that near side. So he makes a decision that he's going to go there. I can't imagine that the shooter could have put it anywhere better for him. And he's able to keep the game 1-0 and to help us get 3 points. I believe this match he had 12 saves. He had a shutout. It's an important 3 points for us. I mean, heading into the international break, takes us from a spot where we could easily be 4-3-0 to make us 5-2-0, and it's an important start to the season for the team and for him. And so, but it's a big time save. It's not something that you teach. You can really kind of work on his reactions. You can talk to him about recovering to his feet quickly and the flexibility that entails. And he's the type of goalkeeper that has a number of different ways that he's getting up. He loves the game, and he's a big fan of watching other keepers out there in the world. Loves talking about goalkeeping, and so I'm just so happy for him because I know how passionate he is about his play and how much he puts into it.
Yeah. Let's ask the LA Galaxy cheerleader who was screaming up for joy on that play.
Threw his drink up in the
air. No, I just think we've all been in those situations where we know we're probably gonna have a rebound here. So just making sure when we do give up a rebound, knowing kind of getting ourselves, at least getting our feet underneath us. So you can see that he didn't have the time to get himself back up, but at the very least he kept his arms in a position where he could extend them and make a save. So I thought that was really good. It's one of those situations where don't make 2 mistakes in a row. If you've made one mistake, do your best to get in a position to alleviate the next one from becoming an actual goal scoring opportunity. So I thought he did really well.
But Omar and Kev, in my opinion, right here, what I love about this is that so many young goalkeepers need to see things like this because they need to recognize the fact, like Omar, I love what you just said about don't follow up one mistake with another mistake. So many young goalkeepers, their focus would be like, well, my coach says I'm supposed to get up on a recovery movement, and so I'm trying to get up, and so they're so focused on recovering and getting up that they've lost sight of the ball. Jonathan right there saw the spill, recognized not the most ideal situation, but says, I still have to make a play. I have to make a play and I have to stay with it. So I think it's really important for young keepers to see plays like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said on 2 different words within that I kind of pick up on, and they're really, when we talk about efficiencies, you talk about his focus and you talk about his vision. And, the eye is a muscle. And it's something that you can train and you can get better, and you can work on depth perception, and you can work on, the focus of it. You can work on, being stable with your eyes. And, he gets up, I think the other goalkeeper from West Brom, Sam Johnstone, who played for England the other day and made an unbelievable save down to his right side in the match versus Romania, I think. And when he goes to make it, you're like, how does he even see that? And the reality is that baseball players are doing whatever they can to get their eyesight however good that they can get it. I think baseball, the average eyesight is 20/15. And so you think about the importance of, what your peripheral vision is, right? And so you're always trying to gather information so that you can make better decisions. And if you're not interested in what that looks like, if you're not interested in being able to look up and scan at the same time you can see your feet, which is a different peripheral vision, then you're not trying to take your game as far as you can probably take it, right? And so, Bondi does a great job here in terms of being able to find the ball. He's able to concentrate and focus and put it in a good spot, but that stuff's not by accident. I mean, this is a guy that, even when he's supposed to be resting and recuperating, like he's still seeing a massive amount of things with his eyes on a daily basis, and whether or not it's me smashing a shot from 6 yards away or whether it's, tennis balls or whatever the case may be in the gym, like he's focused on what he wants to achieve and his goals, and that's not, every little bit of that takes a lot of work, a lot of concentration. So I think that the time thing. I think that's probably why it popped to my mind when you asked if there was something we wanted to talk about. It's just I can't believe, like, I used to go home at 2 and play Halo until 7 and then have dinner and go to bed. These guys aren't quite where the NFL is yet in terms of the amount of required time at the stadium, but they're certainly taking things really seriously.
Well, like even Omar. I mean, for young coaches out there who are aspiring to to coach at your level, at the professional level, and this is your first year coaching at the professional level. Is you've recognized moving from the amateur game to the professional game, how much more time you've been putting in, at the field, in the space, at the complex and everything like that. That maybe before you could slide on, but to coach at this level, you can't.
Well, I will say I think Kevin's in a more fortunate position than I am as the first team goalkeeper coach, where the second team goalkeeper coach, if the first team needs more goalkeepers, they can take the goalkeepers that we have. So while I do have more time, there are opportunities where I have to take on the bus or when we're traveling or in the hotels on travel days to sit down and break down film and break down footage of whether it's professional games or the guys actually playing for us that I don't get to see because they're with the first team. So being with the second team, it's very difficult for me to always have them in front of me. We can't always build on progressions, and that's just the nature of it. So I definitely have to be savvy of when I can get the guys into video sessions and film sessions. But again, like you said, it's just what it is. You have to improvise as a coach as much as a player, and it's important to always just be on top of it because I feel like there are days where if I feel like I don't have anything to do, there's always something to do, and I feel uncomfortable when I'm not. So either on Y Scout, you're on Spidio, you're on something, watching something.
Yeah, and I think, by the way, for both, if you want to complain, Omar, I'm going to go train a 7.5-year-old at 5:00 on a field in the Valley. For those of you guys who are listening internationally, the Valley is a place that nobody in Southern California ever wants to go to at 4:30 in the afternoon because it's 104 degrees. So feel free to change places.
Well, I will say
about 3 hours to get there.
Exactly.
But I will say though, it's honestly in these situations where it's like I don't get to see the guys as often just because of they go with the first team. It's also made me understand too that the information that you give, it has to be on point. You have to be extremely, extremely substance oriented, and things that are just kind of instead of having 20 different clips, try and find different patterns and then drop it down to 2 or 3, just so they can actually conceptualize it, but also to digest it. And I think that's what I've gotten a lot better at, is trying to be more efficient with my video clips, but also to the way I speak and trying to articulate it in a few sentences versus running on just because I don't see them very often.
You just brought up a really good point right there, Omar, and I would love to talk to Kevin about this because I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of young coaches make is in regards to the efficiency of their own conversation throughout a session. And because of that, the session doesn't have a natural flow to it. And if the session doesn't have a natural flow to it, your goalkeepers are never going to be in rhythm in the game because they're so used to start, stop, start, stop, start, stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I mean, we have probably less time than most goalkeeping coaches have, just based on the fact that we really like to integrate our goalkeepers very early. And so, there's times that we kind of head out early. We have conversations about, the thing is, there's less teaching at this level. It's more about identifying, what are the things that we need to be able to do to play within our system. And then what does the other team present and how can we effectively deal with it? And how can I create scenarios where they see that most often, right? And so some of those things are inherent to the training sessions that are created. I'm fortunate that we're able to really kind of identify those things as a coaching staff. And then, if there's things that I would like to see within it, then I can make those suggestions. Or if I need field players, like I can get field players. So I think you talk a lot about what that rhythm is to the training session. And, for me, we're always going to, go through a general warm up of some type. We're always going to be able to get in that footwork and that handling so that, similar to the piano scales that we were talking about earlier, like that repetition is important, and then we build onto that into something that's more and more complex. And is, it can either be us on the down low, maybe revisiting something that we weren't successful at the previous week, or something that is going to be crucial in terms of us being able to accrue points on the weekend.
But by the way, I don't know if you guys just saw it pop up right here, but Yuta Nomura, the goalkeeper coach for Revs 2, just posted, "I feel you, Omar," with the crying emoji right there. So
hey, by the way, I will say something for the USL group. I sent 2 keepers down to the USL team, and I worked with 1 yesterday. So it's not always like first team first. They were doing some shooting exercises. We were doing some playing out of the back stuff, and it was just made sense. We've got a couple of injuries and stuff that we're kind of working on, but I feel you guys, and I think it's great to be able to have that as a resource, to be able to kind of share our players between the 2 groups. We actually had a practice match today between the first team and the USL team, and I think that interaction really helps to bridge the gap. It really provides an opportunity for the players to get comfortable with all the coaches kind of around, but also to feel like a part of something truly special. So, I got a lot of respect for the USL. I'll probably make the drive down to San Diego this weekend to watch Jonathan play.
We play you guys Wednesday, so make sure you're there.
I was at your last game.
Were you the one you guys destroyed us?
Well,
5-0, man.
Yeah, maybe I didn't realize the score was that high, but I was there that Wednesday before the first team match. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Las Vegas, so I've always had a little soft spot in my heart for that place.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be.
Omar, wasn't that your the actual competitive first professional match? Wasn't that one?
Yeah, it was tied 0-0 at halftime, and then all of a sudden. They scored 1, then it was 2, 3, 4, and then 5 at the end. But it was just, I remember I looked at the scoreboard. I was just like, oh my God, this is what the whole season's gonna have. Like, I do not want to have to see this. But it was good. It was good at first game, and we've definitely bounced back. So it's been nice.
Hey, Kevin will tell you, Omar, this is paying your dues down there, man, is only going to make you a stronger coach, moving forward. So.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. Is like even in those situations, it's like not overreacting. Where, in the past, I've had coaches who you've conceded a goal, they try to break down every single thing and rewrite the whole, playbook about your technique and your tactical awareness. But in reality, at that go talk about, it's just, okay, relax for a second, zoom out, see what really happened. And then obviously from there, you can be more efficient with the way you communicate your points. But I feel, and that's for me, like I'm more of a hands-off kind of guy. Like I show you the film and I have a discussion versus like, here's the film. This is why you didn't do this right. This is how we're going to fix it. More so, hey, let's have a conversation. Tell me what you felt in those moments and what did you see? And then maybe, okay, well, your first touch wasn't clean enough, and that's why when you looked up, the picture was completely different. Then we have it in sessions where we, give you cognitive discussions or cognitive things in front of you to see what your first touch looks like and things like that.
Things in front of you, that communication degree really came into play. Right.
It's
there,
already
Omar.
an hour in. I had 2 sessions today, so I'm tired. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go train a 7.5-year-old. You guys can change places with me. It's an environment where the kid is looking forward to.
I'd love to trade with you, but I got my daughter's 8th grade graduation today, so no training 7.5-year-old for me today, unfortunately.
Oh man,
I'll have to take a bath. Maybe next time.
Kev, do you miss the youth game a little bit?
I do. Like I said, when I was down in Florida, I would do. To hear Omar talk a little bit about just training everybody. I do think like when I was down in Florida, I would do probably 2 sessions each morning. I'd do the girls session in the afternoon. I'd stick around for the U13 stuff in the evening. I was driving like 7 days a week, like 14-hour days. And I don't know if you've been to Bradenton, Florida, but it is not cool. It is, it's like working in a sauna. So I would have already sweat through and changed into my second outfit of the day by like 9 a.m. So, but I think the thing I like about working with the youth is that, just the passion that they have for the game and really trying to have fun with them. I think that there's so many obstacles within the game, whether that's starting lineups or, whether that's, the college piece, whatever the case may be. Like, there's always so much adversity. Like, if you're not passionate about the game and you're not able to have fun doing it, then you'll quit, And so that's one thing when I was working in the academy, is how do you create, a passion for the game that's able to see you through, like what your maximum output is. And so I do miss it. I'm fortunate that, I think we brought up, one of our 17s to train the other day, so we still get to see some of the young players. But I also believe even in the MLS level that, you're still developing people, so I haven't moved that far away from development. But I am fortunate that I have a group of academy players that I can go out and watch all the time. And I haven't really been doing a ton of work away from the club, but I'm sure at some point I'll find some way to train some youngsters and kind of scratch that itch.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to as we're kind of wrapping up everything, I kind of want to play this last clip right here, not this Portland clip right here, but this is the clip right here, because I think this is kind of showing everything in a successful action, everything kind of coming together. I think right here, I think it's Irahu is covering him right there, and who's that? Is Rossi. Oh geez, I don't want to be in that situation. That's Rossi, and it's a shot on Jonathan. Great recovery position. Again, relaxed, composed, not worried about it. Then Blessing hits the shot, and a great steer over the top bar right there. If we want to walk.
Did it play all the way out, Mike? All the way through?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm going to play it all the way through.
It's Araho, by the way. I don't know who the hell Araho is.
I'm trying my best here, man. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Arahuo.
Oh boy.
And Spanish is my first language. Spanish is my first language, and I can't do it. Okay. William Arahu. Oh boy, it's a tongue twister.
The Venezuelans they're not claiming you.
No, they are not right now.
But that's again, ideally the first save that we showed. If he could have gotten back to his set position like that, that's how we teach it. You know what I mean? Just like very much like try to find your footing underneath you, try and get square in line with the ball and make the save. If it's going to be a secondary save after a rebound, but I thought that was pure class, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he does a great job in terms of being able to see it through traffic. I mean, I still think that, some of these rebounds that we're looking at that have, I mean, all these things evolve, right? I was trying to find a clip from the LAFC game really quick so that I could kind of show it to you and walk you through it. But, it's obvious here he has to come up with the second save, right? And so then you're talking about, well, this is the second time in one conversation that we talked about, these rebounds that are being left in positions that maybe aren't wide enough, that maybe need to get around the post. And so certainly he does a splendid job here. I'm a little bit of a stickler for perfection, so that he doesn't have to necessarily deal with this stuff. But he certainly is able to kind of generate quite a bit of power to get that ball up and over from what looks to be a pretty wide stance. That's not necessarily a stance that you would use to generate power normally. I think that's probably the type of stance that he would be able to kind of make some kick saves out of. If you kind of look, he's probably able to rock back a little bit as the shot comes a little bit closer. But, I think, you'll see as soon as he leaves it down there, his eyes are right back onto the ball. He's kind of spread himself in a good spot, and he's certainly able to react and take care of that second rebound. So, for me, it's an important save against, our crosstown rival, and becomes a pretty important save, in terms of his impact on what we're trying to do as a group.
I want to ask you about that, Kevin, in regards to that wide stance right there. Is that a conscious decision on his part? Maybe he's trying to cover as much space as possible because there is such a big gap that was left open, or was it more of he just got caught in a wide stance when the shot was hit?
I mean, I think, he's the type of goalkeeper that, if something is being done, it's pretty purposeful, and so the one thing I really like about working with Bondi is that, he's always open to conversation and he's respectful. And if there's a takeaway, he's certainly appreciative of it. He's pretty resolute in some of the things that he kind of believes in, but after watching him play for the past 6 months, he probably deserves to be, at this point. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great working relationship. I don't really feel like anything that he does is by accident. And I'm actually, if you guys can talk for a second, I've got one video that I'd love to share as well.
Absolutely,
and
man.
talks a lot about just the work that we've done throughout the year, right? Okay, sorry,
Kevin. Anything that can stall me from going to the Valley and train a 7.5-year-old, I'm totally down with.
Watch them be the biggest supporter of the podcast too, and they just know exactly who you're talking about. Just like, oh,
I know. And then they all these 1-star reviews. All of a sudden, they're just coming out. And it's all just from that family, just sending it out to all their friends. They know. Come on. I mean, we all know what it's like. But honestly, I'm being facetious here, but obviously it is important, and I think a lot of coaches out there who are working with those foundational ages need to understand how important you are. Kevin brings up the teaching aspect, and how much teaching is going on at that level. I mean, it is literally, Omar, you tried to train an 8-year-old for once and you were like, you know what? I'm good. I'll go with the 23-year-olds. I'm good with,
Takes a lot of patience, but yeah,
it takes a lot of patience.
Yeah. So in the preseason this year, we conceded not too many goals, but 2 of the goals that we conceded. How do I share on this thing? Am I able to kind of share my screen?
So you see share, click share.
I can see that.
And you can either click, when you click share, you either do file or screen, whichever one you want to do. You can just click the file and then you can get the file to play too. So.
It's not a file though, I don't think. Let me see what I can do here.
Then you can just share screen too. Yeah. Let's see here. For those of you guys listening in the audio podcast, you'll never hear this because this will be edited out. So,
yeah, I'm struggling to figure out how to share it. Let me see. I'll try one more time. Share screen, share screen, your entire screen. Application window, and I would like to share Untitled 3. Let's try that.
All right, let's.
So are you
look
able
at
to
that!
see
Look
that?
at that! Look at that!
Yeah, next level, right? All right.
Yeah. This is why you're a pro.
So we've been working all through the preseason on Jonathan's ability to kind of deal with balls 3 to 4 yards from the end line on crosses. Or just balls that maybe they're early crosses, they kind of scoot across and they get into that back space. And there's a number of times that I can kind of recall that he needed the back post defender to kind of step in to kind of intercept it, or he was, or I think we maybe conceded 2 goals. I think New England maybe missed a tap in at the back post. But if you kind of look at this one, you'll notice just how important that this save is. Ball gets down towards that space, and there's this interaction at the front post. It's just a massive save there. I think that Rossi gets through. He's about 6 yards from goal, and he cuts that out. And the amount of time that went into that save in, I'm sorry, am I done sharing now?
Yeah, you can put it back on if you want.
No, so the it was not just, that's not Bondi, stepping outside the box, making one save. That's a number of different conversations that really kind of went in. After New England, there was a guy that missed a shot at the back post that would have been a tap in. I think away in Tucson, Arizona, there was a tap in at the back post, I think either by Kansas City or Real Salt Lake, and we continued that conversation. So it's cool over time to kind of see how these things evolve, but how much time is put into, just one moment. And it might be one moment that's like a big save for somebody, but it's also a save for me that identifies him as a player within this club, and it helps to kind of shape the way he sees the game long term.
Go ahead, Omar.
No. I mean, I was gonna write down this word, and then Kevin said it. I think the conversations from the goalkeeper coach, even the goalkeeping unit, about certain situations can go so far. Versus like obviously the video helps and the actual repetitions of it help. But when you have those conversations, like you said, sometimes there's certain things that he's stuck in his ways, but he's always willing to hear about ways to make those things that he's good at or may not agree with you on, make them better and improve on. And I think those conversations are so vital for somebody to just open their mind up to new possibilities and a new range per se on situations like this.
Yeah. And I mean,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think, you go.
I was just going to say, it's about that growth mindset, right? And it's about, willingness to have these conversations. And I think you have to start with caring about the player, right? And I honestly, personally felt a huge difference in the way that I interacted with players when I had children, and I hate to say that, but it's just knowing how much I loved my daughter and knowing that this was somebody else's child that I was working with, like, gave me so much more patience. And I think when players feel that you care about them and that you want to develop them, and it's not about it's not about your success, it's more about their success, and whether it's on the field or off the field or whatever it is, like those are the most important things for me. And so once you have that type of relationship with the player, like, you can truly help them grow. And I don't know if you guys have read that book Mindset, but to be able to feel like you can evolve your place and yourself as a person by working hard at it, and not really being like just stuck in this space. I can't imagine working with players like that now. All the guys that I work with are like really striving to be more and more every day. And so I feel pretty fortunate to work with those guys.
I mean, honestly, I think that's a fantastic place, honestly, for us to kind of put a button on this. Is that a thing? Is that a saying? A button on this? I don't know. I have to go train a step. Yeah, a ribbon. There we go. A bow on this. A bow on this. I got it. A bow on this gift of a podcast with Kevin Hartman. Kevin, honestly, I mean, we've been going for close to an hour and a half now, man. We really appreciate you taking your time to come on the show. I know it hasn't been easy, obviously, with you making the transition into the first team and having that preseason kind of under your belt. Because I know I had reached out, I think it was in December, and you're like, "Yeah, get back to me after Champions League." I'm like, "Oh, you mean after Tuesday's Champions League match?" You're like, "No, after Champions League." Like, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
I wanted to make sure that I could put the effort into this that it certainly warrants, and so. Next time, hopefully you can get the whole crew together. I mean, I understand UCLA camp is pretty big and all, but come on.
I told her that. And honestly, I mean, look, I mean, we're in the same town, so hopefully we can actually do this. And it seems like everything's opening up. We're all vaccinated. Hopefully the protocols with MLS will start, lack of a better term, easing up as people become more comfortable.
I can invite two of you guys over for an LA Galaxy game.
Can you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about Omar, but I can invite.
I am so down to go. Honestly, Kevin, if it's ever cool and stuff like that, I would love to watch a session, of you working, because I'd love to see, kind of the process in person and stuff.
Yeah, well, once we get through to the other side of COVID, let's make it happen. Have all you guys out. But I really appreciate the opportunity to chat. I mean, I'm certainly appreciative of all the information that I've kind of gleaned from listening from other guests that you guys have had. And Omar, I wish you the best as you get Las Vegas lights, goalkeepers firing on all cylinders.
Thank you.
Except for next week. Next
Wednesday, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, next Wednesday we'll be neutral on that. We'll be very Switzerland like on that one. Kev, I know you're pretty active on social media, and I mean, I think a lot of people out there are very appreciative of that fact that you're willing to engage in conversations. Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
Yeah, probably Instagram. I mean, I haven't opened up my Facebook account in a couple of months or years or something. But yeah, Instagram is probably the best way to make it happen. I'm always happy to answer any questions that people have or have conversations, as long as they seem on the up and up. Goalkeeping related, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, definitely. We've I made the mistake a couple days ago where I was posting somebody's question up on here, and I realized it was a political statement, and I was like, oh boy, I did not want this podcast to go that direction, so I tried to immediately hide that comment as quickly as possible. So yeah, let's try to keep it goalkeeping related, everybody. If you want to reach out to Omar, all you have to do, guys, is go out to a Las Vegas Lights game and find him there. No, go to at ProGK Academy _ on Instagram. If you have a guest suggestion or topic suggestion, contact at insidethe18media.com or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social medias. If you want to reach out to me directly, at Michael Magid. You can check out my comedy show tour availabilities that are going on my website, michaelmagidcomedy.com, which is being updated because we're now getting back on stages in front of real people. Love the online world, but you can't beat meeting people in person. All right, guys, that's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.